Hey, early childhood educators, welcome to Human Skills Training, where we translate modern neuroscience into what actually works in practice. I'm your host, Chris Danilo, and my background is in child development and neuroscience. And for the last few years, I've been facilitating high energy, useful, and fun professional development workshops for educators like you. Enjoy this episode. I hope you learn a lot, but more importantly, I hope you do something great with it. Hey, look at us. We have Candice Storer with us. And I'm like really lucky that our worlds collided and that I get to know you because you're doing some really cool things in the state of Kentucky for childcare providers and trainers in the early childhood space. How are you?
I'm great. How are
Well,
you?
would you be cool sharing a little bit of like your role and like maybe we can get into how you got there? Because I feel like you took a windy path that's not dissimilar to my own journey. I would love to hear more about it.
Okay, so what I do
Yeah.
right now, I am a trainer of trainers in the early childhood world. So it's very important that the people who train our teachers are credentialed,
Right.
educated,
Seems
and
important.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, the there's regulations that say they need to have so much training a year, like
Yeah.
a teacher, a preschool
Right.
teacher. We need so much training a year to be licensed. So
Right.
who's going to train those people? So that's what we do is we credential them. They go through a credentialing process and they take some classes and then they work with us consistently while they have their credential. So if someone's trying to do a training on uh, improving behavior in the 2-year-old room, and they
Right.
can say, "Hey, Candice, can you help me with this? There's a spot that I keep losing everybody, or it's really boring." And then I can work with them and make sure that their training is really set up well for retention and workplace outcomes.
So that to me sounds like you have multiple areas of expertise, right? Because like you've got the facilitation side of like what works in like literally getting information from adult to an adult, but also like your background and experience in working in a classroom, right?
Mhm.
And being like, hey, I actually know the answer and I will help you with it. And so you're doing multiple things, I feel like, right?
Right. That's why this role is not like a role that you would like go to school for. You
Right.
have to just have a That's why it's perfect for me. You just have to
Yeah.
have like this wonderful ball of lots of experiences in the world
Right.
of early childhood, adults, all of it. And then, yeah, it just takes a lot
Yeah.
of understanding what it's like to be in the classroom, what it's like to be a teacher, what it's like to be a parent, what it's,
Yeah.
everything about little kids. And then, yeah, put it all together.
I mean that's so like this is perfect because in order to get into that role, it seems to me like you probably have to have a breadth of experience and a journey that leads you there. And some of that is being a parent, because I think you've had a few kids of your own.
Yep.
And some of that is being in a classroom. Like, how did you go? Like, how did you, I guess, start and how did you land here with this like long breadth of experience?
Okay. I'll give you the whole layout and then you will pinpoint, go back and put your finger on where you want to talk about.
Cool.
So, I actually was very young, so I'm dating myself a little bit. But I
We
started,
can cut that out. We can cut that right out of this recording.
I don't care if you cut it out. I don't care how people like, I'm proud of how old I am. But, so when I was about 10 or 11, I was started doing, babysitting
Right.
overnight
Yeah.
in my neighborhood. And I was like the neighborhood babysitter. And then that's what I love to do. And
Yeah.
I kind of had my own little business when my mom would write
What did
down
you do?
what I was doing, babysitting. And then I was like, this is really not okay to have, I need to do something while I'm babysitting. Right. So
Hmm.
then I just in my own mind started making up little activities and things and studying what does a 3-year-old like to do? Well, there was no internet then. You couldn't type it in.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was
Yeah.
trial and error of what to do. And
Right.
So that at 16, I ran the church child care center, not my church, another church hired
Wow.
me to run their child care center at 16, the Sunday center. So I would go in early and they had like choir and all that stuff. And was like 5 hours. And back then it was $12 an
Wow.
hour. And I was so rich because I
Yeah.
could fill my whole gas tank for $9. So
Yeah.
$12
Wow.
an hour. Yeah. And I did I had to learn like how to like the sheets, the cleanliness, sanitation. And then I had one helper with me. So that was the beginning. And then I went to school, but I didn't go to school for early childhood. I went
Right.
to college for public relations and speech. And yeah. So,
Wow.
but
Click.
I always loved it, but I don't know. I just didn't go to school for that. And then I met my husband
Huh.
and I realized that being a marketing person and such a drastically changing, I wasn't able to keep up and I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom. So I switched and I started studying
Wow.
early childhood at that point. And so I ended up changing majors. I ended up with this crazy
Yeah.
degree, but in the end, so that's where it all started.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my first job, okay, so fast forward, had a bunch of kids, blah, blah, blah. Now it's time for me to go to work part-time. Okay. So had 6 kids, boom, 9 years, 6 kids.
Whoa.
Fast forward, I'm like, I'm dying. I need to get out of the house a little bit. My baby's 3. She's going to preschool, so I can work a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So my first job I had was a role where I would work as like a partner to a social worker.
Right.
And I had a social worker partner, and then I would go into the home of one of her clients or his clients like 3 times a week, whatever the judge ordered, and
Right.
work on helping them keep their child or their children,
Whoa. That is
building parenting,
so tactical. That is so like use. Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Yeah.
building parenting skills. Whatever the judge, there's a reason that they were involved. And
Yeah.
then, so I had to build rapport,
Yeah.
right? Build rapport. So they want to work with me and then get them on board to make the goals. And then I would report to the judge every month. I'd have to write to the judge and the social worker every month.
That seems
And
so hard. What percentage of the people that you worked with, or I mean, you can ballpark it, like how many of those people were like, oh, thank God Candice is here. Like I could totally use this help versus like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the judge ordered this. And now I have this other person in my house. Like,
oh my goodness. So the first knock is, I always knew the first visit was my chance to let them know that
right.
I am their advocate. I'm there to help them keep their kids.
Yeah.
I'm not here as eyes to report. I'm here to help them learn some skill.
Right.
And it's the first visit. So that first knock is like always,
Whoa.
they're like always, and I did it for 4 years. So they were always just kind of, but if I could get them at the beginning to buy in to,
Yeah.
and I would say I have met the most wonderful people through that. And of all of the people I worked with over 4 years, and I would have, anywhere from 7 to 12 clients at a time, I only had one lose their children out of all of that time. And
Wow.
I'm saying that was something I went in. I didn't realize it. I actually went in as a safety measure. They were sending me in there 4 times a week. And it was
Yeah.
just holding things steady until they could get what they were going to do. So
Holy smokes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the only time that and I'm glad, because if that's what they needed me to do, then
Right.
the kids were safe. In the end,
Right.
they were safe. And so I did my job, but they just didn't tell me that's what I was doing. But
Right.
I learned so much about parents, and I learned
Hmm.
a whole lot about letting them decide where their weaknesses and strengths are, and not just because the judge said you have to work on this. I learned not to go say the judge says we have to work on this. Everyone knows where their strengths and weaknesses are.
Right.
They do. So I would just say, I had like a little thing. Anyway, I
Yeah.
learned so much about human nature, about parenting, about how no child is the same, no relationship's the same, no parent is the same.
Yeah.
Situations can be the same and reactions can, but we are individual people. And
What's like one thing that you learned from those experiences that like you didn't expect to learn?
I learned that most people, most people are doing the very best they can do with the knowledge they have. And so I actually became like, I
Right.
think it's a natural thing to be like kind of judgmental. Like
Yes.
I learned not to be, people do the best they can, including myself, just the best they can. And so maybe it made me nicer to myself as I was also parenting at the
Right.
same time that I was doing this. You do the best you can with what you know. And
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020, which is, hindsight's 2020, and then it's the people who are aware of what they're doing
Yeah.
that make the change. Those are the people that grow. So you can
Right.
do the best you can with what you know, and you can stay doing that.
Right.
And maybe it's not good enough.
Right.
I mean, just honestly.
Yep.
Or you can do the best you can with what you know and be willing to know more,
Right.
and be willing to try.
Right. Being open to maybe the idea that you don't have all the answers and someone like Candice can come in and actually be really helpful,
Right.
which is a
And
hard switch, right? I mean, I feel like that's really, really hard for anybody. I had a mentor who's also like just a friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for many years, and I was working on a project with him, and he said something that like I still think about, which is like your job is not to be the judge, your job is to be the detective. And for whatever reason, that language clicked with me, and because our instincts, I feel like, are so often to judge, meaning we're not thinking of it as judging, we're thinking of it as like I'm trying to figure this person out, and so but that's what it is, right? Like we think we're just trying to figure that situation. We're looking at
yeah.
clues, like it seems logical, but like actually it's judgmental. But
Yes.
like if we approach it from like this, I'm a detective and I'm gonna learn from like I'm like like if I'm gonna learn from you, that's a little bit more. And I'm now open to being wrong or like open to figuring it out and waiting for you to share with me the answer versus like I know you, right?
Right.
Which is like
Yeah. I think some people maybe expected me to come in like super nanny
right,
and like tell them this is how you're going to do it.
right,
And I won't say I didn't go through phases of learning. I didn't
right,
know at the first year I did it
right,
how to do it took some time and experiences, but I
right,
learned that the most important thing I could do for someone is help them to just discover the kind of parent they are,
right.
to discover it.
Wow.
And then,
Discover the kind of parent that they are.
right, just be aware. And that's hard because,
Yeah.
and that led into my next job, but that was hard because helping them, you have other family, like you don't parent in a vacuum. You have the other
Right.
parent. Maybe your parent, most of the time, I didn't have two parents in the home. I would say 80% of the
Right.
time it was single parenting.
Right.
But if there was two, then there was two. But then there's also the outside family that they have their judgments about me being in their child's home, telling them
Yeah.
how to parent, like, the grandma or
Right.
so
Right. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
bigger picture than initially. But
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Because if
yeah,
I were them, I would also feel like I was being judged. So like, yeah, that's a really hard job because you have to
yeah,
go be useful and helpful, but you have to first take that really important step that you mentioned of like, I need to earn your trust. And we know trust is earned. And like, that's not something that happens overnight. So like, you're
yes,
getting buy in, but it's a process of buy in
yes,
to then finally maybe earn the right to be useful. Oh,
yeah,
that's hard.
earn the right to be useful. So that led into my next job. So, my husband, we moved because his career was the one we were following, and so my next job, oh my goodness, I learned so much. The next job, they paid for me to work on my master's in family therapy. They paid for that,
Cool.
to do that. So my Fridays I was in school, and it was a certificate program for that state.
Right.
But my job, I worked with a master's level in a partnership with a master's level therapist. And our job was in pairs to go in, and we did intervention for really, my youngest was 5, but it was really 0 to 18. And it was
Yeah.
family intervention. And so we would have one session with the whole family a week, one session with just the parents a week, and one session with just the kiddo a week. So this is
Wow.
intensive work.
Wow.
And I learned so much about that. And because I had so many children, I really loved doing the therapeutic parenting part. I
Yeah.
loved the kids. And I had, depending on which case it was and what role I was assigned to, sometimes I was working with the child and my partner was working with the parent. But very often I was the one that was doing therapeutic parenting, which is just like helping them understand what their role is and helping their child get better, and identifying those things. And although that was a quick job, we were only there for about 2 years. I learned so much from
Yeah.
that, so much
Yeah.
about just about how difficult things are. And,
Yeah.
when your child has mental health problems and
Right.
behavior issues and all of that.
Mm.
So I did that. And then from there, I went to a situation where I was managing those situations. So I was like the person who coordinated the therapist, the case manager, and we would have a meeting once a month. And I ran that meeting for that child. And those
Mm-hmm.
children were the upper 2% that were coming out of mental health
Right.
institutions.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
and then I would meet weekly with the parents and help the parents get ready, and almost a therapeutic parenting, although they didn't have assigned therapists, most of them. The children had
Yeah.
therapists, but the parents didn't.
Right.
And so we talk about how to make it a successful transition.
Oh, man.
Um, so I did that, and I did that for about 4 years, learned
Yeah.
so much there. Boy, as I'm
That's so
talking, these
common.
people's pictures keep popping in my head, these
Yeah.
people I worked with. Yeah. I had
Holy
this little
smokes.
5-year-old that was a fire starter. I loved him so much. He was this is not funny that he would do these things. I'm smiling because I loved him and his
Right.
little
Right.
personality. And what we
Right.
did with that situation turned out very well. But
Right.
yeah, just all the different situations. And
I
I
can tell
have
you're the right person for this because have you ever worked with someone who's like, they love kids, but like when they work with kids, they're like, oh, this one is like, oh, that one is, oh, this is behavior, whatever. Like the difference between somebody like that and what you just did, like, is that you'll be like, oh, this little guy, he was such a challenge. I love him so much. Like, right? That is such a hallmark of someone who really belongs in the field. Is a match for so I don't know. I just
yeah.
feel like you should know that you have that.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. He stood out for a reason, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I have the other one that stands out. She was in such a difficult position and had
Yeah.
been, I think she had like 6 people work with her. Now, I wasn't her therapist. She had
Oh, you
assigned
mean like
therapists, but she
6
had like
different people had come in and been yeah.
as like a manager of her situation. And
Right.
she had it really rough. Without giving too much, just
Yeah.
know that this girl went through more than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
Both of her parents were deaf. And she, from a little girl, was the translator. And it was just such a difficult
Yeah.
position. And in the end, I ended up really like joining. We call it joining, not like bonding like a friendship bond, but like joining,
Right.
like she trusted me. And
Mm-hmm. I
one
like
night I
that
got it.
language.
Yeah, it's joining. She had one night she had thrown herself in front of a semi,
Oh
literally.
God.
And I had gotten a call, and that was like the last time she ever did anything like that. And I wasn't supposed to do like emergency intervention. I wasn't allowed to do that in my job. So I was coordinating. So the next day I went to talk to her, and that was like a special moment when, I'm a person, I'm a person. I'm not just a worker. So when I went in and I saw her, I immediately started to cry because I was so worried about her. And it wasn't that I was like, all those emotions just came out, right? It wasn't on
Yeah.
purpose. And
Yeah.
she looked at me and I said, and I'm like, I was just so worried about you. And I'm just
Yeah.
so happy to see you standing here, you know?
Oh,
And I think that moment she was like, oh, like
right.
she
Somebody
started.
matters.
Yeah. So I told her she ended up going like 10 hours away to finish high school. I helped her get into, I think it doesn't exist anymore. It's called Job Corps. So we got her into Job
Mm.
Corps, got her out of and I told her, I just said, hey, when you graduate high school, when you graduate, you let me know and I will be there. Wouldn't you know,
Oh.
18 months later, I get like, she found me on Facebook and she was like, Miss Candice, this is when I graduate. Because, her case was long closed. And she's like, and I said, I guess I'll be there then. So my husband and I made sure we were there and we were the only ones that
Wow.
showed up. I'll tell you, that was a crowning moment, really. And they gave each of them a rose to hand to somebody. And that girl brought me the rose.
No.
And
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
that was just like I guess
Ugh.
that's the moment. And this has
Wow.
been years and years, like years, 10 years. She just reached out to me like 2 months ago and just was sending me baby pictures of her family. Like, cause she's got like 2 little babies now and she was sending me the pictures. So,
No.
and that made a huge difference. Right. So I went from that. This is a long
Yeah.
story. I went from that. And then, I came to Kentucky and
Yeah.
here I found my home. I found a place that worked and loved kids and loved parents as much as I did. They loved kids and parents. And
And put chili on top of spaghetti.
they did put Chilean spaghetti.
And
And
like, let's be
they ate
honest.
right. So they ate right. They did all the things right. And they
Right.
had this company it supported a little childcare center that was special. This childcare center was for children who had adverse experiences. So
Right.
if you've ever heard of
Yep.
ACEs, like
Ace squirt. Yeah.
they'd had like many things had happened to them, these children
Yep.
that are in this I wouldn't
Yep.
call it a therapeutic childcare center because it wasn't like we didn't have therapists in there all the
Right.
time, but it
Right.
was a special place. And it was all run by donations and fundraisers. So if you worked for that company, you were a fundraiser. You were
Wow.
like, you did everything. So, and for
Right.
there, I supported that little childcare center by helping teachers understand these children that had come from difficult
Yeah.
situations. I worked with the teachers. I
Right.
did that. I loved that. And then helping them with curriculum. Now I'm not a curriculum expert, but when it comes to presenting things to traumatized children, that's me.
Right.
So that worked well. And then
Wow.
that company also had another little program where it was a volunteer program where parents would sign up to have someone come to their home and work with them on parenting skills and things. So sign me up.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I did like several little things for that company and I loved it.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was like my soul. They still are my soul. I still like do their fundraisers and all their stuff with them.
Oh man.
But the time came in my life when I couldn't be, I think earlier before we started, I talked about how there's a lot of Candices. There's a lot of
Several
me, a lot
Candices.
of Candices. And I was using so many Candices for that
Yeah.
job. And
Yeah.
it was like time for a change. And so it really was time for a change and time for me to slow down a little bit from all that direct work.
Right. Right.
So I
Right.
applied for the job I have now, which is awesome.
Right.
So I get to work with people that are working with children.
Right.
trainers. I get to work with most of the trainers are directly working with kids.
Right.
I have a few trainers that I work with that are like they have a business that they're, but
Right.
most of the trainers I work with are, right there in the center.
Right. 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 Which I think most people listening to this can relate to, like, hey, I have different versions of myself, or like I've been in this role and I used to be a trainer, and then I was in this role and I used to be a teacher, or I used to be a director, and like there's this merger of all the people that are still us, but like different flavors of us or something. And like you've done this really cool, interesting job of like tying them together and keeping them. And now they're sort of like interacting together and like putting on this show where this version of Candice shows up, and then they go off screen, and then the new person instead does a number, and then like, and you've got this little dance happening. And I feel like there are people that you work with who were like, I used to identify as this, teacher or whatever, educator, and now I'm training. Now I have to train people on how to do what I did, and it's like a totally new thing. It's wildly outside my comfort zone, and I'm not a public speaker. And like I feel like you're such a good person to help them with that because you've done it and you've got the dance down. I wonder if like part of your experience in working with them is like, you know, realizing, like, are they coming in with like a sense of panic, or is it like they're coming in with like a resistance, like a reluctance of, I don't want to do this, I didn't sign up for it, but I have to do it, like what are some of the experiences you see people coming in with when they have to face this reality of, I need to adapt my skill set, like I need to develop new skills in this AI world where
Right.
everything's going to be evolving, right? Like, and that's
Yes.
like, yeah, what are some of the things that people are coming in with and you're working with?
Well, what I have, there's different kinds of trainers. So some people are asked to get the credential to be a
Yeah.
trainer here in Kentucky, but they are not really going to train a lot. But
Right.
their company wants them to have the credential,
Right.
and which is important because for whatever their job is, they may need to understand. Those people are usually just, like they just kind of go get it.
Right.
But we have some regulations. We have some regulations. Your credential only lasts for 3 years. You have to
Right.
have an observation. So they still work with us. So we don't just credential them and then they're got a credential. Like we still follow them
Right.
and we really
Right.
support them.
Yeah.
So the people I get those people
Yeah.
that comes up on the 3 years and I'm like, oh, I gotta
Yeah.
do this again because it's peripheral. But then you have people, and I would say the majority of the people that their job is in training, like they
Yeah.
might be they do need to train 10, 12 times a year, and they don't want it to be just a box. They want it to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so really getting them into like, hey, let's make this a great training. They're very open. I have to do those observations, and the way I do it, we all do it similarly. There's several of us in the state that do what I do, but for me, I contact them, and before I just go do like an observation where I'm scheduled to come watch,
Yeah.
before I'll have a Zoom call and I'll say, tell me about your training. Is there anything that you're thinking is
Yeah.
a spot that's that I can help you with before I even come? I'd rather have them make those little adjustments and feel great about doing it than to be nervous, because it's not punitive. It's not me there
Right.
staring at them trying to find things wrong. It's me trying to help them be the best trainer that they can be so that they can have the best effect on the teachers.
Yeah.
Because when the teachers know what they need to know, then who has a great day?
Yeah. Right.
They're babies.
Right.
They're babies. So it's all really about helping those kids. And those kids need to have people who know what they're doing taking care of them. They're not babysitting.
Right.
They're not getting babysat. They're actually, having good quality, knowledgeable people take care of them who know how to ask them good questions so that they can either playing with their blocks and, that they know when it's time to narrate what they're doing and when it's time to ask questions, depending on the child's development. So there's a lot that goes into being a good teacher. So there's a lot that goes into being a good trainer.
You know, I feel like, first of all, I love educators for this reason because, like, pretty much every interaction that I have with educators is very much just like focused on the outcome and the mission and very little about ego, right? Like,
Oh,
oh, like the red pen of like, oh, I don't want you to mark my paper because I'm going to be, I'm going to be defensive about my feedback. Like,
yeah.
they're just trying to get the thing done in the best quality, fidelity of implementation, right?
Yeah.
So, like, and I just love that so much about educators in general, which, there's a million other things I could riff on about why educators are the best. But I feel like one of the things that you have said that really resonated with me that I think applies here is this idea of like everything you do teaches something. Everything you're doing at any time is modeling that thing or communicating something. Like we know this
Mhm.
behavior is information. Like I just, when I hear you talk about that and your philosophy of that, like like I resonate with it so much. How do you like communicate that or articulate that and then help them kind of like frame what they're doing with that in mind?
Well, it's funny. It's very much like when I used to work with parents and help them figure out what kind of parent they are.
Right.
It's very similar because when I'm working with a trainer, I don't, I never wanted the parent to parent like me and to create a duplicate household to what
Yes.
I had.
Right.
That's one, really prideful, and two, not realistic. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to create another trainer that's just exactly like me,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So I want them to figure out who they are. What do they feel comfortable with? Or
Right.
like you had mentioned the AI, if they're not comfortable with the technology,
Right.
then how are they going to up their training game and keep up with what technology offers without using it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if
Mm-hmm.
they're so it's helping them figure out what they are and
Yeah.
then and what feels comfortable to them, and then still elevate that training
Yeah.
so that it's something that actually transfers that knowledge
Right.
to the participants.
God, like that lesson alone is like so insanely valuable in today's like changing AI world, right?
Mhm.
Of like what you're saying is it's more productive for you to be a real person, actually yourself when you're talking to people, rather than this framework of how to respond to this and have these are the five things you need to say and blah 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 blah. Like if that feels forced, most adults are good at picking that up and being like, okay, like
Yeah.
they'll sit through it, and educators are good at sitting through crummy
Yep.
presentations.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, right? But like, and
PowerPoint.
they will
Oh,
sit, they
forever.
will do it, and they will put up with it. But like, will it all go in? Like will it be absorbed the way? Will they want to do it again? Like, oh man, probably not. If you're just showing up as yourself, even with mistakes, oh my God, people are so much happier to have you, the real you, with your mistakes than this kind of
Yes.
like forced robot voice thing that we all kind of are used to
Yeah.
but don't like.
Say that it's just really important to be your authentic self
Yeah.
and not some version of like some awesome trainer. Like not everyone can be Chad Littlefield,
Right.
right? Not everyone can be Chris. Not
Right.
everyone. So the idea is that developing who they are, what you're good at, and some people are really humorous. They're
Right.
just really funny, and
Right.
other people are not.
Right.
So building on your strengths
Yeah.
um, and also understanding that you have to grow. You still have to learn because this new generation that we're teaching, that we're training. So these are young, early childhood professionals, right? They're anywhere between 19 and, well, we train them all the way up, right? They
Right.
all need training, like by the regs. But a lot of them, like if you're a 25-year-old, you're going to not be able to take away the same thing if it's
Yeah.
presented in this slow paced kind of thing
Right.
because
Right.
they are
Right.
used to quick change, quick, quick, now,
Yeah.
now. And
Yeah.
so we really have to keep up with what they need and keep up with the trainer, with the participants that are a little bit older.
Right.
It is
Right.
going to dance,
Yeah.
because you've got to be able to reach all of them to reach your outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got workplace outcomes, things we want them to be able to do in the home when they go home, when
Yeah.
they go, whether they go home or they
Mm-hmm.
go back to I call home work, when they go back to work, the
Right.
workplace outcome. But then you have what you're trying to let them know from the training. So then you have your training outcomes. So
Right.
what did they learn with the training, and how are they going to go take that back to the workplace and affect those babies?
You know, one of the things that I think you do that exemplifies that's like I think a good example is like these sort of casual trainer connections. Like you've got one coming up in
Yeah.
September. Like
Yes.
they're sort of like designed to be low stakes, like nice on ramp. There's just not a lot of pressure around like you need to show up and take notes and you're gonna get quizzed on this for your
Yes.
CEUs, your continuing education units, like or any. It's like it's supposed to just be like casual and like that. I think helps to allow people to absorb it better and also just like show up as themselves really.
Yes.
Like what is something that's working for you in that space that allows your trainer connections to like be effective? Like what are some things that you're doing in those sessions that allow it to work for somebody who's 25 or maybe has been in the field for 25 years?
Well, so those trainer connections, we we do a needs assessment
Yeah.
pretty much every year to find out what the trainers want, like
Yeah.
what they need help with.
Go
And
figure that would
go,
be
yeah,
useful.
it's
Right. Yeah.
very useful.
Yeah.
So, but then we have that year, and then we kind of do some planning, almost almost for a year. We
Yeah.
get some topics put together. Um, what works well is variety.
Mm,
So even even I would say, even if the topic was the same, every time we did it, it would need to be presented by a different person in a different way.
mm,
So the topic's not the same, it's always different. So
right.
variety makes a big we've brought in guest speakers. That's always fun.
Right.
Sometimes if I go back and look at like 3 or 4 years ago, it would be us like showing someone how to use a plan, a training plan.
Right.
Like, hey, do you use a training plan or do you just make a PowerPoint?
Right.
Not that PowerPoints are bad,
Right.
but it's not your training plan
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
But some people,
We were
oh
just
yes,
talking
it is.
about it. We were just talking
Yeah,
about you like it's so ineffective and useless and infuriating to like read from your PowerPoint as though that were the presentation. Like
right. Do you know what I tell my trainers? I tell them that the PowerPoint is just like a piece of jewelry. It's an accessory.
right.
It's a visual. It's a
Right.
helper, but you are the trainer.
Right.
You're the one that's you're running the
Right.
master show of that training. You're the
Right.
one that pulls the cords. So you don't let the PowerPoint run it.
Right.
And,
Right.
it's and that was like it's kind
Right.
of like old fashioned now. Like you get lost in the PowerPoint. Um,
Right.
so someone who can use a PowerPoint effectively.
Yeah.
And we have, someone who goes through our credentialing, they'll understand like what a PowerPoint should be is not a lot of words,
Right.
not a lot of words,
Yeah.
just, mostly visual.
Right.
So that kind of thing. And I think that's the point. Just trying to help the trainers really understand how to make a difference
Mm-hmm.
when they're training those teachers and
Yeah.
how to make a difference. And
What's like a skill or a workshop or like a message that you've provided that maybe you didn't expect to be that useful, but people like trainers were just like, oh my God, thank God, like you made this. Like I was so glad that I found this.
okay, so back to technology.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have time to learn this technology,
Right.
like all the different new technology. Remember when COVID happened, everyone had to do things on Zoom. I mean, people didn't even know how to get on Zoom.
Right.
People didn't have computers even. They just use their
Yeah.
phone, whatever. So we had to learn that. But one of the big things, and I've had the same reaction, is following the technological innovations that we have in
Mm,
training. Um, just teaching someone how to use AI.
Right.
How to use AI, just teaching them. That's the, like, I didn't realize that teaching someone how to write a good prompt, which
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a very trainery thing to do, like
Right.
training coach thing to do. But I had taught someone how to use a good prompt to get ideas
Yeah.
for activities. And I said, you have to write the prompt properly. And I just taught her how to do it. And I
Yeah.
said, and then let it give you some ideas and then pick one and then build on it. Like, so
Right.
I sat and worked with her on that. And she was just like, wow. Like,
Right.
she thought
Right.
that was the coolest thing
Yeah.
because not everyone is super creative in their head.
Right.
Like, you could say to me, Candice, tell me 3 ways to use a blue crayon. And I
Right.
can tell you 3 ways to use a blue crayon that has nothing to do with coloring, right?
Right. Yeah.
I can give it to you. Other people can't give it to you,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Yeah.
So not everyone's that creative, but you have AI to help. And so that takes our trainers that are maybe not the super creative trainers and it gives
Right.
them that makes them creative. And
Right.
so they love that.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of trainings on that for trainers on being like how to use
That's
these
cool.
things. And I think it's important for them to, makes their job easier. Um, it's
Yeah.
not, I mean, I can see an AI generated training plan.
Right.
It sticks out like a sore thumb. So
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not personal. They're not,
Right.
they
Right.
don't do that transfer. They don't do it. But AI can be a great tool for generating an idea for like, an activity or something,
Yeah.
or
Definitely.
even helping you just put something in a more professional way, like writing an
Right.
outcome or something. So
Right. Yeah, that
yeah,
is definitely what most large language models, LLMs, are good at is processing language and giving you language, especially if you tell it to give you that language in the style of this
yes,
very specific person who has a ton of like I've written enough blog posts. I just found this out. Like I've written enough blog posts on the internet that I can just tell Claude to
right,
write it
like
in the style of Chris Danilo and it does it. But what's funny is it'll do it in like the old style, like my old like 10 years ago style of like rah motivation guy that's like like it has evolved and like has changed a little bit now, so I
yes,
have to like recoach it to be like, well, like here are new writing samples of like what I want you to do, or like
yes,
whatever. But yeah, it's like it's incredible at processing language and predicting
yes.
how a certain style should sound or whatever.
You
It's
can,
a wild place.
yeah. I think trainers have loved that.
Yeah.
It makes their the world a little bit easier to navigate. So whenever we do our yearly Trainers Institute, we always have like a tech piece in
Right.
there like
That's
that.
so cool.
Yeah. But
What's
even just
maybe Oh, go
personally,
ahead.
really helping them, like just doing TA, helping them
Yeah.
like, I have this training.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really kind of boring, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, well, let's see. I don't want to replace myself because like I'm
Right.
Candace. I don't want to replace myself with AI, but
Right.
I can help them learn how to, navigate that.
Right. Like I think there are so many cool AI skills that will be useful, but I think the future, of course, is the human skills that we are learning in interacting with each other and,
And we might
being
get
being
better.
people.
We might get
Yeah.
better if we're not busy doing all these things that can be
Right.
automated. Maybe we'll be better with each other
Yeah, we'll have more time to focus on developing those.
in relationships. Yeah.
Totally. I am optimistic in the same way. Like I believe that like all of these improvements will help us focus on the things that are actually important, like
Yeah.
which like creates another question in my mind of like what is maybe a skill or a training that you want to like download into the back, like you want a matrix download into the back of every trainer's brain that like maybe they don't know that it's important yet, like maybe they're just getting started in this thing, they've just been assigned, they've been voluntold they have to be a trainer now, and like they're a subject matter expert in what, and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, but like they may not know the lay of the land, they may not know everything that they don't know. What's like a skill or a thing that you wish you could just download to their head
Okay.
immediately?
That's like the super, like, I have the same things happen over and over and over with, and it doesn't matter if the new trainer is like a doctorate level person
Right.
or if they're just this starting out in the lower level
Yeah.
of their education and they're just now a new trainer. They're
Right.
the same thing. This is
Huh.
it. People can't learn 1,000 things at once. So in 1 hour, you have to really pick the most important thing that has to do with your topic and teach that and do activities around that and make that memorable. So often I get someone who have like, "Oh, we're going to do this and then this and then this and it's like nine different ideas, nine
Right.
different things. And that's not how we learn. So if I were to teach you about using materials, right?
Right.
In a classroom, I'm just picking this out of my head. We're going to
Right.
talk about using materials in a classroom. Would it be more helpful for you if I listed 150 materials that you could use in the classroom,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Or would it be more helpful for you if I picked 2
Right.
and then exemplified those
Right.
and gave you lots of examples of how to use those 2?
Right. Right.
With that, which one would you take back and use?
I feel like this is a perfect example of the difference between AI and human skills, right? AI is really good at coming up with that list of 150 whatevers, but like the actual practicality of like this thing will change 80% of your classroom or your training room or whatever. And like, here are the 5 ways that you can implement this in effectively. Like that is way more useful than the list of 150 that I like may or may not know
Right.
how to implement.
Right. And then, and it's just we call it like a knowledge dump.
Right.
If you do a training and it just has too much information, it could be great information.
Right.
It could be mind blowing. But if there's too much, you just overwhelm the people that you're training and they walk out of there and they're like, that was great. What's for lunch?
Right.
And they can't remember.
Right.
It's a totally different situation when you really focus down on what they need to know.
Right.
And then you give them opportunities to work with that idea, work with that. So, and that's the same thing. Like, so with every single person, that and one other thing, as long as you gave me the floor. So one is to like focus and teach less.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one,
Oh, yeah. Teach less. I love that.
less.
That's just like a good,
Teach
that
less.
might be the name of your book. That's really, that's solid. Yeah. Teach less. It's like, that's really good.
The other one is make a training plan.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
Like literally, so we teach paces, which is paces, but each one is, so you want to make sure that you are spending the right amount of time. So preview, activate, content, exercise, summary. You want to make sure that you're spending the right amount of time on those things. So many people just rush through, or the closing. We'll make it simple. We'll just be like opening, content, closing. Okay.
Right.
Some people don't even close. They don't do anything to close. They just like talk all the way to the end and they're like, well, thanks for coming. They don't do any revisiting.
Right.
They don't do so because they don't have a training plan. Right. And so that training plan makes everything flow. So you can say, I'm going to spend 8 minutes on this and explaining blah, blah, blah. And it really, so if you're, for instance, if you're trying to making a training plan, or you're trying to get a certain outcome, right? You're trying to have, we're just going to talk about training. So like we want them, by the time they walk out of training, we want them to know this and this. If you know that and you've written that, then when you plan your activities, you're going to look back and make sure that they tie together. You're going to, like, how can you have them know this if you don't practice it? If you don't, so if it's something they need to know. So just having a training plan. I'm like, and hey, Chris, you could take our fundamentals of effective training. Like it's not close to the world. Just because you're in Kentucky doesn't mean you can't sign up and take fundamentals of effective training and see what we train. So like you could.
Huh. That's
But
so beautiful that it's open.
yeah,
Um, and I love the idea that like everything should be backwards engineered and nothing should
yes,
be engineered, right? Like
yes,
what you're saying is like you just know the outcome you want and then figure out how to like practice that in the
yes,
session, as opposed to like trying to do the sage on the stage thing that's just very one directional and like here's the information. Like that's an example of what AI does. It can
yes,
give you a
yes,
lot of information. Like
yes,
that's not what's useful. That can be an email, that could be a PDF. That's your PowerPoint. But like
yes,
what you're talking about is like practicing the thing. It's the hands-on component. It's like deeply understanding the thing so that you can implement it when you walk away. That is a completely different ask than can you present the information? Like
right,
what?
totally. You're
That's
right.
old. That's the old, like that is so dead. Like we are past that. Presenting information, like nothing you do should be presenting information. Like you should
No,
be training and like
yeah,
practicing and like in
doing.
like yeah, doing the information. Like that's true understanding. There's a guy, he's entrepreneur, and I think he would consider himself a musician who I love, named Derek Sivers. If you ever remember in the 90s, a company called CD Baby. Do you remember CD Baby in the 90s?
I should. I was in college, so I probably was not focused on anything.
It was right at this time where like the idea of selling something on the internet was like completely new. Like you would never do that. And he figured out how to put a buy button on his website. And like at the time, artists and musicians like couldn't just put their music online. They had to go through a record company. They had to get, it was like a whole thing to be able to sell your music. And what Derek Sivers did was put a buy button on his website, and then he was just trying to sell his own thing. And so
Right.
his friends would come to him and say, "Hey, well, can you put our music on your site and sell it too?" And like he basically created this cool business called CD Baby in the 90s when it was really hard to do this. And he talks about his journey through it, and he talks about like his experience as a musician. And one of the things that is really interesting about him is like he had this mentor who was basically like, you think you know that song? Well, try singing it 2 times as fast. Now sing it half time. Now do it in the style of Rico Casey from the Cars. Now do it in the style of like, you know, uh, Elvis. Now, and he would just like ask him to do this thing that he thought he knew in all these different ways. And by the end of it, I think Derek was like, "Wow, I know that song in a way that I didn't know I didn't know."
Right.
And I think that's what you're talking about. Like that's
Yeah.
what you're asking for in a training session is like it's one thing to like have the sheet music of the song. It's another thing to know what it feels like, to know what it feels like if it were in the key of G or A or like and like just doing it in these different ways so we can kind of absorb true understanding of it, which I think is the only way that we'll be able to teach it to other people
Yeah.
confidently and like answer questions about it and like and be
Yeah.
sure-footed in our teaching.
It's why we make sure that we present things in more than one way too. So remember the PowerPoint, like
Right.
talking points,
Yeah.
talking
Right.
PowerPoints.
Right.
We don't just present something in one way. We actually do activities
Right.
to engage the brain,
Right.
but not everyone likes that kind of like, so you have to
Yeah.
hit, like some of them are, if you ask someone to get in a group and talk, they're like,
Right.
oh, I
Right.
hate
Right.
doing that. I hate that.
Right.
I hate people like,
Right.
yes, I love interaction.
Right.
So even within a training, you have to vary how you're letting
Yeah.
them review the information and how you're encouraging them to share it. Now,
Yeah.
for us, because we're early childhood, we get to do a lot of really fun things because
Yeah.
it's not uncommon for us to play a game because
Right.
who are we training? You got to know your audience
Right.
and be able to plan. This is why you need a training plan because
Right.
then you can actually think about your audience.
Right.
The most difficult ones to do are like NACI.
So that's funny. I was just about to say, when I sat in your session at NACI this past year, so it would have been,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah, it was last year.
2024.
Yeah.
You did this exact thing, right? You introed it in a certain way, and then you got the audience to a place where they were able to collaborate on something together. Like that would be cool to unpack your
Yeah.
your framework that you use for that and that particular audience? Because I think a lot of people kind of like know that audience.
I'll tell you what happened at that. So Bambi Cliff and I flew out to
Love Bambi.
California.
Big fan of Bambi. Big Bambi
Yeah,
fan.
love Bambi. We got there and we had to go see what room we had, right?
Oh,
Like,
classic. Yeah, I know
so
exactly what
we're
you're talking
like,
about.
let's go see our room. Well, we thought we were getting round tables.
Yes.
We had planned our training for round tables and
Right.
we had a theater style room.
Yeah,
That
classic.
makes collaboration a little hard.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we got this. We can do this. So we went back to our room and looked down and looked at all of the interaction activities to figure out how we could flip it around a little
Right.
bit. And we came up with it and we did it. And I don't think anyone in there knew that that was supposed to be planned
Right.
for tables.
Right.
Like we just like went on with it. And that's the thing at training. You don't need to announce that things didn't go right. Like, don't announce that this isn't what I planned. Like, then people are like, oh no, it's not what you planned. Like, no, just like go on with it. Just, you know, just do it. And
which is the magic, I think, is the magic of great facilitation is when you didn't realize that it was there, right? Like when you learned the thing and you walked through the whole experience and you got all this out of it, but you didn't necessarily feel like it was, you know, in this structured way. Like you wouldn't be able to describe the structure to somebody. It's like it's like great fitting clothing. You don't feel it. It's just not, it just feels like you're part of, it's like the same thing like with facilitation. Like as soon as there's this like seam under your arm and it's like this itch, like then you notice like, oh, this is not very good. And which is the magic and I think also the curse of facilitating effectively.
Yeah. I think what happened with NACI, when we got ourselves figured out, and then they have this sign up app so you can kind of look at people and see like what they are. You can like what role they are. We're like, okay, we've got some. So because it was really a training not for early people that are young in the training field. This was level 3 and level 4 evaluations. You know, it's like a higher level. But I felt like knowing as much as we could and then taking a minute to get to know your audience. I don't know if you noticed, but I was walking around talking to people before it started, like trying to find out a little bit about them. And and I recognized your eyes, but remember, I didn't recognize your whole
so
face.
Funny. This is one of my favorite. Yeah, I know. It was so great. Cause like I walked in and was just like, oh man, I had the same reaction. Oh, so good. It was so fun. Like coincidental.
But I put it up and you knew who I was as soon as my name came out. You're like, oh, it's Candice, but like, I didn't.
Oh,
this guy.
That's right. We're going to work on a project together. And like now it's all coming together. But then I got to sit there without you were just like locked in. But I think that's one of those signs of being a pro. And I think it's actually really unintuitive for a new trainer. I don't know if this is true for you because you're good at this. Maybe I don't know if this resonates. But like, you know, for me at least, being that person, like when people are walking in, having them do something immediately and engaging with them is like actually really important for like breaking the ice, but in a non-cheesy way that like loses people. I think just interacting with them is really great. Plus, I feel like it's a way to get like topic of like stuff that how is your day going? Like getting into the mechanics of like what's going on right now at NACI, so that later on in your presentation you can maybe reference that and have like a fun callback that makes it even more real and even more present and even more like authentic. So I think you did that like naturally.
Well, knowing I have to get out of my head before training. I cannot like sit quietly and think about the training. Like I have to get out of my head, which means I have to get into your head.
Same. Yep.
So I have to walk around and talk to people and then, you know, kind of just like make it really natural to me. And then when I go up front, then I don't feel like I'm talking to strangers.
It's not nearly as hard.
Yes.
It's not I was so glad you just said this because this was like a thought that I was having. Because I'm the same way. Like the easier on-ramp that I build for myself, the like easier it is to just start.
Yes.
You know, like if you make it, the more there's like this there's like this barrier between the audience chairs and your stage, the harder it is to reach people and the harder it is to like just be a normal person. I
It
feel like
is.
it's just so much easier when you do it your way of just engaging and having a conversation. And
Engaging.
then when it's time, you're already moving. Like
Yep.
you have
Did,
momentum already.
did you notice we didn't use a podium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Podium is like so stuffy.
It's just adding
Yeah.
something between. So I think just being aware of those things.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Chris, that training probably was the smoothest and most fun I've ever had.
Whoa.
Bambi was a gem to work with. And I
Yeah,
felt
she
like
is.
we just played off. You probably don't know, but there was, because it was a long time ago, but there was a part that I stole her part.
Oh, funny.
I was
Yeah.
just so excited. I just
Yeah.
stole her part a little bit.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
looked at me
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm like, sorry, stole
Right.
your part. But I
Right.
think that just made it more personable. Like people
Yeah.
could, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever stolen someone's joke? I've done that by accident where I was
Oh,
like, oh,
yeah.
shoot, like I got the laugh and like it was really for you. Like,
That's really
yeah.
funny. No, I haven't done that, but I think I introduced her with a poem,
Oh,
an
yeah.
AI written poem. This is how I did
Yes.
her intro. And when we practiced, I had never let her hear it before.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
she didn't get to hear it.
Yeah.
And so that was fun to actually introduce her
Yeah.
with a poem that way.
Right on.
And I think that matters too. Like when you're a trainer and you're
Mhm.
trying to connect with your people, you want to set the tone. And I think that if I could have stood there, this is Bam McLiff
Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah. And this
Here
is
are the
white.
5 reasons you should believe us.
Yes.
Like that's why I think most people lead with like, I have to earn trust with you. And so here are the 5 credential stamps and seals of approval that like will make you believe me and listen to me instead of like just being a human being first. And then like,
So,
I don't know, you can present all that later and like people
you can
I
read
don't know.
it.
Yeah, like we
It's
don't
in the
need to talk
bio.
about it.
in
Yeah,
the
Let's
app.
just use
Just
our
learn
time
to.
for something more useful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so I thought using AI to make a
Yeah.
poem, because I'm not a poet, was
That's
really
so
fun.
funny. Well,
And
not with that attitude, Candice.
Well, I'm not a poet you would want to read. We'll just put it that way.
Not poet yet.
Yet. Okay.
I
I'd
don't
have to
know.
build that skill and find that to be the most important thing to work on. And it's probably not right now.
Yeah, you have grandkids.
I know.
That's
I
that's
would.
way more important.
It's so much more
What if you
important.
wrote the grandkids' poetry? They wouldn't be able to judge it, and you would still practice the skill.
I'll tell you what. Shout out to my mother-in-law. She wrote books for my kids, for all of them.
Whoa!
She wrote like 50 books, little children's books. Some of them are a little bit bigger. Some of them are a little bit like older, all from family history stories.
Stop it!
And
No
this woman,
way!
I wish I would have known. I would have pulled one out for you. And she illustrated them.
Oh my gosh!
So like she tells a story of like one little girl got a pig and when she was little and blah blah blah, and like she has her drawn and she has the pig drawn, and or like a buffalo fell through the roof when they were crossing the plains and she like drew it and told the story, and like that's grandma. I got a lot to live up to. I'm not there yet. My
Big
mother-in-law.
shoes.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably stop talking about her because I'm going to just feel really bad and everyone else is going to be like, oh my gosh, comparing ourselves to her. That's amazing.
Now, what I'm doing my own way, just like I can't be the grandma that she is. I can't be the trainer that you are, right? But I have to be the grandma that I am.
Yeah.
So I just do grandma yes days on Wednesdays. Wednesday
What is a
afternoon.
grandma yes day?
A grandma yes day means I'm going to pick you up from preschool or wherever.
Yeah.
And you get to choose what we have for dinner.
Ooh.
And I have a lot of toys at my house. Like I love toys. And so when all the kids are here together, I don't pull all the toys out. That would be insane. I actually set up the toys depending on who's coming, and I just put a few out. Because more toys does not mean more fun.
Facts.
So
that's the title of your other book. More toys do not mean more fun.
Right. But when they're on their grandma yes day, I have a closet, I open it, and they get to choose anything that they want to play with. Yeah. So, and I play with them, which is the more important part.
Right.
And so that's what.
I feel like I'm so lucky to know people like you. I love when people have a whole career that like has changed or evolved, but like is aligned with like a specific mission. Like I love that like constant pressure on my goal of like, I want to improve the lives of young children and like
Mhm.
turn them into happy, productive, amazing, healthy adults. Like that's the thing. And like you have moved your whole career in like making that happen in various different ways and supporting the system in different places. Like you've been in and out of this landscape in these cool roles that have shaped your skill set now.
Mhm.
And so if you're okay with it, I would love to close with one more question
Okay.
that is more around like, what keeps you motivated in a world where everything's changing and everything's hard and there's new people and personalities and like different challenges? Like, what keeps you motivated to stay on this mission?
Well, it's the little children. That's the motivation. So that they have a chance, so that they have the best day they can have, they have the best week they can have, whether it's helping parents or helping trainers who are helping teachers, or it's just helping the little children because they can't help themselves. They're just they're just functioning wherever we make them be or go.
That's the truth. Well, thank you for your hard work. And I'm so glad that our worlds collided and we got a chance
Yeah.
to connect and hang out. And thanks for coming and doing this little interview. I just appreciate you so much. And we'll talk real soon.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in to Human Skills Training. If this episode sparked something, just share it with an educator or a leader who needs it. If you want to pick my brain, just drop me a line at chrisdanilo.com. See you next time.